Those who are advanced in yoga practice can willfully transfer the soul to whatever planet they like by the yoga process, and others take the opportunity in various ways. But as far as the devotee is concerned, it is clearly stated here that the Lord Himself takes him. The devotee does not need to wait to become very experienced in order to transfer himself to the spiritual sky. This is very gentle purport. The devotee does not have to become very experienced in order to be transferred himself to the spiritual sky. In the Varaha Purana, this verse appears. Nayami paramastanam archir adi gatim vina garuda sankyam aropya yatecham avivarita. The purport of this verse is that a devotee does not need to practice Astanga Yoga in order to transfer his soul to the spiritual planets. Responsibility is taken by the Supreme Lord Himself. He clearly states here that He Himself becomes the deliverer. A child is completely cared for by his parents, and thus his position is secure. Similarly, a devotee does not need to endeavor to transfer himself by yoga practice to other planets. Rather, the Supreme Lord, by His great mercy, comes at once riding on His bird carrier Garuda, and at once delivers the devotee from material existence. Although a man who has fallen in the ocean may struggle very hard and may be very expert in swimming, he cannot save himself. But if someone comes and picks him up from the water, then he is easily rescued. Similarly, the Lord picks up the devotee from his material existence. One simply has to practice the easy process of Krishna consciousness and fully engage himself in devotional service. Any intelligent man should always prefer the process of devotional service to all other paths. In the Narayaniya, this is confirmed as follows. Yavai sadhana sampati purushartha chatur shaye Taya vina tad apnoti nara yanashrayaha. The purport of this verse is that one should not engage in the different processes and fruitive activities or cultivation of knowledge by mental speculative process. One who is devoted to the Supreme Personality can attain all the benefits derived from other yoga processes, speculation, rituals, sacrifice, charities, etc. That is the specific benediction of devotional service. Simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. A devotee of the Lord can approach the supreme destination easily and happily, but this destination cannot be approached by any other process of religion. The conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is stated in the 18th chapter. Sarvadharma parityajya mamekam saranam vraja aham tvam saprapapebhyo mokshayishyami madhuchaha. One should give up all other processes of self-realization and simply execute devotional service in Krishna consciousness. That will enable one to reach the highest perfection of life. There is no need for one to consider the sinful actions of his past life, because the Supreme Lord fully takes charge of him. Therefore, one should not futilely try to deliver himself in spiritual realization. Let everyone take shelter of the Supreme Omnipotent Godhead Krishna. That is the highest perfection of life. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjanan Shalakaya Chakshur Umanitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We are born in the darkness of ignorance. Our spiritual master is opening our heart with the torchlight of knowledge. Therefore we offer our most humble and respectful obeisances in the dust of His lotus feet. Translation. For those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Pritha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So this was pretty nice, huh? take a little time out to hear. Can you hear me in the back of the room? You can hear back there? Okay. If you can't hear, you can always come closer. I can't speak any louder, so otherwise I won't be able to speak tomorrow, so you have to be careful. Srila Prabhupada begins the purport with a very nice statement. It is explicitly stated here that devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. I remember looking at the crowd, I see maybe over 50% coming from India. They're originally Indian, at least. Maybe their parents are Indian, but they're from India, or coming from Indian descent. And I always remember one time when I was in Houston. Is anybody here from Houston? You're been transferred to Dallas? Okay. I won't look for you when I'm in Houston. If I would have went to Houston without seeing you, I would have thought what happened to him.
That's okay.
One time I was in Houston and I was doing a program at one family's home. They were from India. They were nice devotees. And the Indian lady of the house, she was very curious because she said, I grew up in India. India is the land where Krishna took birth. It's considered to be very fortunate because the lotus feet of the Lord walked on that plot of land southwest of New Delhi, known as Vrindavan, the Pura Vrindavan. So, I remember the first time I went to India was 1977. That's 30 years ago now. It's hard to imagine what's happened to India in 30 years. Cannot begin to imagine. But I remember I would see Krishna Das and Sons Manufacturing, Ram's Tire Company, Radha's 7-Eleven or whatever they call those. They had those stores. Everything was Radha, Rama, Krishna, Hanuman, this and that.
Yeah.
I was thinking the whole place must be devotees. But then when you dug a little deeper, you found out that it wasn't actually as true as we thought. It was true to a certain extent. And I'll give an example in a little bit about diamonds and coal. So, this family told me, Maharaj, we were born in the land of Krishna. We did not know how fortunate we were. We had to come all the way over to America to meet an American to tell us about how fortunate we were to take birth in India, the land of Lord Krishna. She was explaining how unique it is. She said, we did not come to America looking for Krishna. We came to America looking for something else. As my friend Dr. Banerjee would always say, I came to America looking for milk and honey. He would say, I came to America looking for milk and honey. But he found the devotees. So, Prabhupada says here, it's very explicitly stated here that devotees are very fortunate. The devotees are very fortunate to be delivered very soon from material existence by the Lord. We should expect that mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there are criteria that goes along with it. One cannot expect to get the mercy of Krishna by practicing some other process. We give an example, and as this purport describes very clearly, that one needs to practice this process of devotional service. We give an example. If you're going to college and you're in the engineering department, you're not going to get a medical degree. You're going to get an engineering degree. And if you're in the medical department, you're not going to get an engineering degree. You're going to get a medical degree. If you're in the communications department, you'll get a communications degree. Whatever department you're in, that's what type of degree that you'll achieve. So in the same way, however we worship, and that worship is described in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's interesting because how that 17th chapter begins. Because the end of the 16th chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna one should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scripture. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may be gradually elevated. So then Arjuna asks Krishna in the beginning of the 17th chapter, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scripture but worship according to their own imagination? Are they in goodness, passion, or ignorance? And Krishna describes that according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds: goodness, passion, or ignorance. And now hear about this from me. So, I'll read the next verse too because it's important. O son of Bharata, according to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. A living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. So, according to this verse, it's not a question that religious people are faithful and other people are unfaithful. Everybody has faith, and that faith is born according to the mode of nature that they have. Someone may have faith in material science, or someone may have faith in the demigods, or someone may have faith in this religion, or someone may have faith here, or someone may have faith there. Everybody has faith. I always give the example, we cannot even sit in this house unless we have faith that the ceiling's going to fall on our head. If we have faith that, this person who built the house built it with some kind of architectural standards so that the ceiling won't land on top of our head. What do they call that when you get to move into the house? Certificate of occupation. Certificate of occupation. C-O. Certificate of occupation, they call it. They have that thing where you're now allowed to go into your house. Your house has been certified safe. So we walk in here and we think that the floor is not going to cave in. Prabhuji here, he gave me a glass of water. I have faith. He didn't put anything bad inside it. It's all based on faith. I figured if he invites me to his house, he must be a gentleman. If he's a gentleman, he probably won't put anything that, knowingly into my drink that will harm me. But that's all based on faith. It's based on faith. So faith is a constant companion of the living entity. So it's a matter of where we place that faith. So here, it's described that we get this opportunity, this great fortune, to associate with Krishna. And as I was describing that couple before, they didn't know until they came to America. Now I'm not saying you have to come to America to get Krishna. Krishna is everywhere. You can find him according to your nature. You can find Krishna. If you search out, you'll find Krishna everywhere. It's just a matter of knowing how to see him. I'll give an example. I've given this example so many times. Just like we were driving over here, we saw the car with the red fluid coming out of underneath the hood, parked along the side of the road. I said, looks like his transmission went out, or his power steering, one of the two. Power steering or transmission. It was all red underneath the car. So somebody comes and takes a look at the car. Two guys get out, they look underneath the hood, they look. They don't know what to do. As soon as the mechanic comes, he opens the hood, he says, your transmission is shot. You need new transmission. Or you need to hook this wire to this and this like this, then the car goes. Two different people are looking underneath the hood. One person, he's been trained how to see. The other person, he's not been trained. So the person who's not been trained, when he looks under the hood, it looks just like a bunch of wires and metal and rubber hoses and fuses and things. And he looks at it and he's very confused. He looks and he doesn't know where, as it describes in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, of the description of the Banyan Tree, when one enters into that arena, he doesn't know where it begins and where it ends. He just looks and he can't tell where the front of the engine is, or where the back is, what the front does, what the back does, what the side does, what this does, what he has no idea. But somebody who has been trained in mechanics, he comes and within a few minutes he understands it's like this, it's like that, and you just have to do like this and like that, and then it will work. In the same way, the material world is compared to that banyan tree, and that banyan tree is a reflection of the real banyan tree that exists in the spiritual world. Because this banyan tree in this material world, it's upside down. The roots grow up and the branches grow down. The leaves and the twigs are the modes and the fruitive activities in this world, and we just simply wander around in this field of activity, trying to satisfy our senses, which are simply connecting the objects of the senses with our. We have 10 senses plus the mind, 11 senses. You add everything up, you got 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Then you have 3 subtle elements: mind, intelligence, false ego. Then you have it adds up 24. You put the soul in there, 25. You put the super soul, 26. This way you can add up so many different things of the material world. So when we come to the conclusion that, as Srila Prabhupada said here, through practice of devotional service, one comes to the realization that God is great. We can take a look around, and there's no way we cannot say that there's somebody greater than us that did this. Somebody had to do it. If you take an example, if we just take common logic, I remember one time, I've told this example before too. We used to have this one devotee. He was a kind of a rough and tumble type person. Kind of rough, But he used to like to go out to the campus and we have a lunch program at the University of Florida. So we're already distributing over 1,000 plates of prasadam per day on the campus. University students, about 1,000 plates a day. In those days we were doing about 100, 150 plates a day. So this one devotee, he was a brahmachari, and he would cook every morning, and then he would load up the pickup. He had a pickup truck with the top on the back, and he would load everything inside, and he would drive it out to the campus. He would take it out, set it up on a table, and serve it out, and the students would come. One man operation. So one day, one of the students said to him, he said, "How do you do this?" And he said, "Do what?" He said, all this food, how do you manage to get all this food together? He says, "I didn't do anything." And the student says, "What do you mean you didn't do anything?" He said, "I was just sitting in my room. I was sitting in my room and I was reading the newspaper. And all of a sudden I heard a big bang. And then I went outside and I saw this big cloud. This looked like primordial soup. Looked like just a cosmic cloud. And then when the cloud went away, there was a truck underneath the cloud. So I thought, wonder what that is. So I went down to take a look, and there it was. There was a pickup truck. So I thought, isn't that amazing? From nothing came something. This truck has come from nothing. So I decided to take a look in the truck, and I noticed it was full of pots and pans. So I thought, I wonder where they came from. Nowhere, just must have been part of the cloud from the bang. And then I looked inside the pots and pans, and I saw they was full of vegetables and rice and halava and so many things. So I thought, what the heck? I may as well take it out to the campus and give it to the kids. Because I certainly cannot eat this much. So I just brought it out to you. And the kid says, no. He says, what do you... He says, you cook this. And he says, you believe it when they say the universe, which is more complicated than these 3 preparations that I make every morning, if the universe is created by a big bang, and you say, yes, Jai, you're all great, glories to the Messiah. But when I say a big bang creates this pot of spaghetti, then you say I'm a nonsense. So through pure devotional service we come to realization that God is great. You just take a look around the creation, you have to understand that something had to do this. It just didn't happen by chance. We don't see anything. We don't see anything happening by chance. There's always some cause. So Krishna is known as Sarva Karana Karana. He is the cause of all causes. He is the fountainhead of everything. As he describes in the 10th chapter, Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, I am the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Everything comes from me. Krishna says everything comes from me. So Krishna is the final point. He is the fountainhead of everything. So when we take an understanding through the process of devotional service that God is great and the individual soul is subordinate to Him, his duty is to render service to that Lord. And if he does not do so, then he'll render service to Maya. So we have these two opportunities that have been given to us. This is an interesting choice. We can serve God or we can serve illusion. Maya means illusion. Maya means that is what's not. Just like we mistake things. We have illusion. We have imperfect senses, and we have propensities to cheat others. So this being an illusion is there. This illusion, we have a choice. We can think that I am this material body. I can think that I'm American. I can think that I'm white. I can think that I'm 55 years old. I can think that I'm born in North Dakota. I can think that so many different things. But that's just this material body. That's illusion. I'm a spirit soul. By nature, I'm a soul inside this body. And I have an eternal relationship with Krishna. Now I can serve that Krishna. And as Srila Prabhupada says here, that what did he say here? One should fix it. It does not matter what kind of work one engages, but the work should be done for Krishna. So I can have my occupation, I can do something, but I have this identification with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's called yoga, or connection. The connection has to be there. The connection is there between Guru and disciple and Krishna. It's all linked together. So here it's described here that we have this choice, that when we connect to Krishna through the process of devotional service, then we get one result. And the result is that Krishna delivers us from the material existence. As stated in the first part of this purport, that it is explicitly stated here that my devotees are very fortunate that they'll be delivered very soon from the material existence by the grace of the Lord. So when we serve Krishna, we get one benefit. Now if we don't serve Krishna, it's not that we're not going to serve. We're going to serve something. A serves B, B serves C, C serves D, D serves A serves B, C goes on and on. It's like that. The husband serves the wife serves the husband, the children serve the parents serve the children, you serve your boss, you serve your country. You have to do service to something. We're always doing, if nothing else, I remember in the 60s we had this thing, be free, but we still had to serve ourselves. We have to serve this body. The body tells you, I'm sleepy. What are you going to do? You take a nap. Isn't it? You can't say, no, I'm going to stay up forever. If you do, you'll become madman. I've seen that before. And if you sleep too much, you'll become a madman. I've also seen that. I had one friend in college, he decided that his only time he was suffering was when he was awake. So he had he says, when I'm awake, I suffer. When I'm sleeping, I don't know what's going on, so it's better to be asleep. So he painted his whole room black. And he tried to sleep all day long. I think he got up to like 17 or 18 hours, and pretty soon he became very haunted. Very crazy. So we'll have to do some kind of service. If we serve Krishna, we get the benefit of serving Krishna. But if we do not serve Krishna, we're going to serve illusion. We're going to think that this is my family, that this is my country, that this is my job, this is my this is my that, this is that. It's I and me and mine. We'll just think in terms of I and mine. and then we're in illusion. And then the result of that is that we stay in this cycle of repeated birth and death. We stay in this cycle that just continues to go around. And we get different types of bodies that are governed by the different types of modes in nature. You get an ignorant body, you get body of an animal. Imagine taking body like that of an animal. Take body as an insect, that there's a spirit soul present there. The spirit soul is present with that. Wherever you see consciousness, you'll see a spirit soul present. Yata prakashya eka krishnam lokam idam ravai shetra tata krishna prakashayati bharata. Just like the sun illuminates this universe with light, so the soul illuminates this body with consciousness. So this consciousness is the symptom of the soul. So wherever we see consciousness, we can understand that the soul is present. So when we see an insect, we can understand that even if an insect comes walking towards me, he'll see me. If he wants to bite me, he'll come a little bit closer, as long as he thinks I'm not looking. But as soon as you look down, the guy goes the other way, Except for mosquito, they'll do it. They'll attack you no matter what. The insect has intelligence. It's searching for this, it's searching for that. And so there's consciousness. Now the consciousness may be very, very limited and very meager, but there's some type of consciousness there. What is the first symptom of consciousness? Amana? Where you, Anamana, yeah. Where you just eat. That all you do is eat. And that's your consciousness. The first level. The topmost level is Anandamaya Abhyasat, where we're connected to Krishna and practicing pure devotional service. So, it's described here, as stated before, the Supreme Lord can be appreciated only by devotional service. Now this is the 12th chapter. In the 11th chapter at the end, Krishna makes this statement to Arjuna that my dear Arjuna, it is only by undivided devotional service that I can be understood as I am standing before you, and thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So this Prabhupada is referring to this verse here, that we have this opportunity to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I give a very simple analysis or example for this, and I think anybody who's ever heard me give a lecture has heard this example before. That if you want to go to the university, then you have to approach the university according to their criteria. If you want to go to UT Dallas, where do you go? UT Dallas?
UTA, University of Arlington.
UTA. If you want to go to UT Arlington, then you have to go to the admissions. You had to take your GRE or whatever, not your GRE. You take your you had to take all your entrance exams for grad school and so many different things. And it wasn't that you could just walk into the laundry department and apply to the school. You can't invent your own, I'm going to go to grad school at UTA, but I'm going to get admission through the laundry department. Or I'm going to go to the guys that mow the lawn and tell them that I want to, please give me the application. It doesn't work that way. They would think, they'd probably call up somebody and have you hauled off campus. If you walked into the laundry department and said, I'm looking for admissions, that's one thing. They could probably guide you over to the admissions building. But if you tell them, no, I want to sign up here, this is where I want to, they'll think, what is wrong with this person? So in the same way, we have a process, as being described here, that the Supreme Person, the Supreme Lord, can be appreciated only by devotional service. Krishna says that by this process of devotional service, I can be understood. So it's not that we can make up our own idea on how to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not that we're going to make some mathematical formula to understand God. It's not that we're going to, make a lot of money and then just say, God, I'll write you a check, show me your face. It doesn't work. Or I'll become so famous that God will want to come and see me. I'll become some famous Bollywood star, and then Krishna will come knocking on my door to get my autograph, It's not that it doesn't work that way. It's being described here that Krishna can only be appreciated by devotional service. So Krishna says this. Krishna gives us instruction on how to approach him and how to be benefited by this process of devotional service. Therefore, one should be fully devoted. That's the conclusion. If devotional service is the way to understand Krishna, and it's the way to become freed from the cycle of birth and death, then the only rational thing that one can do is become devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, as Prabhupada says here, one should fix his mind fully on Krishna in order to achieve him. Now one may think, how am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? Even Arjuna, he thought many times, I should give up this fight and I should just go chant Hare Krishna in the forest. And just give up everything. But Krishna, every time Arjuna said, I'm going to go to the forest and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna told him, no, that's not your duty. He said, that's for somebody, don't perform somebody. 2 times in the Gita, Krishna says that better to perform your own duty, even if it's covered with some kind of slight fault, and to try to perform another's duties perfectly, even if you can maybe do it perfectly, because to follow another's path is very, very dangerous. So Krishna tells Arjuna 2 times, I think it's 2 times, maybe 3 times in the Gita, that don't do like that. Whatever your nature is, you do that, but you do that activity for me. So Srila Prabhupada describes here, the process is very simple. One can devote himself to his occupation, one can devote yourself to the occupation, and engage at the same time in chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. It's not very difficult. In fact, even Prabhupada, I think, says here that in one place it's not very difficult in the purport. So here the Lord, he declares, and he makes a promise, that without delay he will deliver the pure devotee, thus engaged in the ocean of material existence. We're engaged in this ocean of material existence. And Srila Prabhupada gives the example. He says that no matter how expert a swimmer he may be, if he's dropped in the ocean, material ocean, he struggled very hard, maybe where is it at? Oh, I see it here. Although a man who has fallen in the ocean may struggle very hard and may be very expert in swimming, he cannot save himself. So what that means is that we may be very expert at manipulating material energy. I was just talking to one of my friends the other day. I was taking lunch at his house, and he was saying, even though I live here on Gurley Avenue, he says, I live better than a king did 100 years ago. A king 100 years ago, he says, I opened up my refrigerator, and I have fruit from every part of the world in my refrigerator. I have, oranges from California, I have grapes from Chile, I have apples from Washington, I have bananas from Honduras, I have, it's like a king. You open up the refrigerator and you got almonds, you got pistachios, you got this, you got so many different things. Plus you turn a button and the air comes out cool. Nobody had that. Huh? Nice soft mattress, not living on some straw. They used to use straw, didn't they? What's the word? The thresh. They used to use that powder from the grains. They used to make mattress and just wrap it with the cloth instead, and it would itch like anything. So I'm living like a king. So this struggle for material existence, we're engaged in this thing, and we're thinking that we're doing so well. So it's not by manipulating this material energy that we're going to become satisfied. We have to, the pure devotee engagement. Krishna comes and he takes us from the struggle for material existence. He just pulls us out of that material energy. He just pulls us out. Krishna, by his mercy, when we surrender unto him, he takes us from the devotee engaged in devotional service. Krishna just takes them out of the material existence. Just takes them. So Prabhupada describes here, he says, those who are advanced in yoga practice can willfully transfer their soul to whatever planet they like by the yoga process. And others take the opportunity in various ways, but as far as the devotee is concerned, it is clearly stated here that the Lord himself takes him. In other words, Prabhupada gives the example, the child is in the hand of the parent. The child feels no anxiety. He doesn't feel like he has to do anything on his own. He's in complete... Anybody that's had a child holding their hand, you know that the safety that child feels in the hand. In the same way, We can feel that same type of safety in the relationship to Krishna if we just put our hand in Krishna's hand. The devotee doesn't have to become like a big Astanga yogi, doesn't have to become a big this or a big that. In fact, the Prabhupada is referring here to all these different processes that are there. Because at the end of the 8th chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna, Vedeshu, Jagneshu, Tapashu, Chaibhyam, can't remember the next line. Daneshu ya punya palam padistam atyati tat savam idam viditva yogi param stanam upachichaidhyam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the result derived from studying the Vedas, performing sacrifices, undergoing austerities, giving charity, pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. Simply by performing devotional service he attains all these, and at the end he reaches the supreme eternal abode. So, devotees are very, very fortunate that by this simple process of devotional service, all the processes that one may think that he has to undergo, everything is taken care of. Surrendering to Krishna. And as Srila Prabhupada describes here, of course I'll just go through the purport, I don't want to miss it, but he gives a point at the end of the purport that one does not even need to worry about his past sinful activities. It doesn't mean that we should just think that, okay, it was okay to kill my neighbor last month, but Krishna's going to take care of me now. Then we shouldn't think that it's okay to, I robbed the bank last year, so what the heck, I'm not a devotee of Krishna. We should be remorseful for our sins, but at the same time we should understand that if we surrender unto Krishna, Sarva Dharma Parityajya Mam Ekam Saranam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishyami Matsrachaha. That this sin that we have, and there's nobody in this world that can exist without committing some type of karma activity. I remember when I was a school teacher for Gurukul, there was a video called Invisible World, and on your eye, right on the edge of your eye, there are these little worms. They live right on the crest of your eyelid, and every time you blink your eyes, you squish like about 50,000 of them. They live, and they're really creepy looking. When all the kids were like rubbing their eyes when they were doing it, and they look like little squiggly worms crawling on your eyes. So you blink your eyes, you kill some living entities. You breathe the air, you kill some living. You walk on the ground, something. You do this. You have to. Every act that we do has to have some type of reaction to it. So if that activity is not dedicated to the service of the Supreme Lord and connection through the process of devotional service, then that activity bears some reaction in the forms of fruits, which will be given to us in our next lifetime, or even in this lifetime. We can get reactions in this lifetime for sins that we commit in this lifetime. So, as being described here, that the Lord promises that without delay He will deliver a pure devotee thus engaged from the ocean of material existence. And the devotees don't need to wait. This was really a nice point here. The devotees need not wait to become very experienced in order to transfer himself to the spiritual sky. It's not that we have to have some kind of like big whatever. I don't know because it doesn't depend on that. It depends on Krishna. The simplicity of the Gopis is there. We show that the Gopis were simple cowherd maidens. They were simply taking care of the household activities in a small farming village in Vrindavan. They were very, very rural girls. Very simple. But Krishna, they were the greatest devotees of the Supreme Lord. They were so devoted, and out of their simplicity and out of their purity, they were just 100% dedicated to the Supreme Lord. They were not that expert in anything else. They weren't expert in the Vedas. They weren't expert in reading the scriptures. They were just expert in making sure Krishna was smiling. When they would dress themselves, they didn't care how they looked, but they wanted to make sure they looked nice so that Krishna would see them, that Krishna would be happy. Everything they did, from putting on, what is that black stuff called? Kajal? Huh?
Kajal.
Kajal. From putting on kajal on their eyeline and putting on their dress and decorating their body. Everything was done as an act to please Krishna. If Krishna was pleased, they knew that everything was, whatever happened. There's a story that Krishna got a headache. You know that story? You know, Krishna got a headache one time. And it was before Excedrin or Tylenol was around. God doesn't get a headache, but Krishna says he has a headache. So what does he do? He tells his devotee, I need the dust from the feet of my pure devotees, and I need to put it on my head. And if I put the dust from the devotees on my head, dust from the feet of my devotees on my head, then my headache will go away. Go get me some dust from my devotee. Who was the messenger? No.
Uddhava?
Huh? It's either Uddhava or Narada. Uddhava. Yeah, Uddhava. So Uddhava went. He saw so many demigods. No, we can't give the dust from our feet. If we put our feet on Krishna's head, we'll go to hell. He went to so many, he went to this person, he went to that person, he went everywhere. Nobody would give him the dust from his feet. We can't give our dust from our feet. We can't put our feet on Krishna. We'll go to hell. So finally Uddhava went to the Gopis of Vrindavan. Yeah. And the Gopis said, and he said, Krishna has a headache, he needs dust from our feet. He needs dust, and they started taking a thing, one of those scraper machines, and scraping. And he said, what, you're not afraid to go to hell? And they go to hell. We don't care. We don't care if we go to hell. Krishna has a headache. That's the only thing that we can think of. Krishna has a headache. Give him as much dust as he wants. If we can go to hell, that's not a problem. But we don't want Krishna to have any pain. That was the mood of the gopis. And the wives of the brahmanas, they were the same way. The Brahmins were doing a yajna to please Vishnu. And Krishna is the source of Vishnu. And Krishna was right there playing. And they were doing some big yajna, so they had all kinds of prasad, or bhog to offer. So Krishna told his cowherd friends, he says, you just go ask the Brahmins. We're hungry. Tell them that Krishna and Balaram are hungry, and that we're all hungry. All us cowherd boys are hungry, and we want something to eat. Please give us something to eat. So he went to these big Brahmins. The big Brahmins. They said, Krishna is hungry. My dear, they go, Panditjis, please, Krishna is hungry. He wants something to eat. Can you please give something to eat? No, get away, children, get away. Go. Yeah. How do you say ga? Huh? Get out. Go away. Go, don't bother us. We're busy worshipping Vishnu. Don't disturb our sacrifice. So the boys, they were really surprised, because they had never been refused anything for Krishna. Nobody had ever refused. Whenever they wanted anything, it was always there. The gopis would have everything prepared. The mothers of Vrindavan had everything ready for Krishna at every moment. Krishna's pastimes are unlimited, and his devotees are unlimited, and their service to Krishna is unlimited, and everything was wonderful. And Krishna and the cowherd boys and the cowherd girls, they just played and they had so much fun. It was the spiritual world. And now it was the first time somebody said no. Imagine that. Somebody said no. And Krishna, so the cowherd boys came back and said, Krishna, they won't give us anything. He said, just go ask their wives. Go ask the wives. So they went up and told the wives, Krishna is hungry. Krishna is hungry. They went and they took everything. Their Brahmin husbands were trying to stop them. They said, shut up. Just let us take whatever we're going to take. Krishna is hungry. Don't bother. The gopis, the mothers, they wouldn't even listen to their husbands. Huh? And they took everything and they fed Krishna. And Krishna said, and then afterwards the Brahmins realized, oh my gosh, they said, to hell with all of our learning. To hell with all of our studies. To hell with all of our this and our that and our yajnas and our this, and just to hell with everything. Because everything that we were working for was right in front of us and we couldn't see it. Krishna came to us and asked us for something. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, the source of everything, came to us and told us he was hungry, and we told him to go away. So what was the value of all of our brahmanical training and all of our this and all of our that, all of our, doing this at this time and doing that at that time and doing this, all trying to do so many rules and regulations, following this and following that, only to forget Krishna. Only to forget him. So Krishna is so wonderful that he says we do not need to wait to become very experienced in order to be transferred to the spiritual sky. The purport is that the devotee does not need to practice the Ashtanga Yoga in order to transfer the soul to the spiritual planets. The responsibility is taken by the Supreme Lord himself. Krishna takes the responsibility. If we surrender to Krishna, if we surrender ourselves to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then Krishna himself takes responsibility for that devotee, and he delivers that devotee from the material existence. He personally comes and he delivers him. He takes him right back to the spiritual world. As Srila Prabhupada describes here, he gives the example of that child now. A child is completely cared for by his parents, therefore his position is secure. Similarly, the devotee does not need to endeavor to transfer himself by yoga practice or anything else to other planets. Rather, the Supreme Lord, by his great mercy, at once comes riding on his bird carrier Garuda and at once delivers the devotee from material existence. At once. He just takes... For a devotee, he doesn't have any problem. We have the story of Dhruva Maharaj. When death came, death personified came, Dhruva Maharaj used it as a step to get into the planet, the flower airplane carrying him back to the spiritual world. He just stepped right on death's head. Just like that. No problem. Back to the spiritual world. So Prabhupada goes on, he says, rather the Supreme Lord, by his grace, comes riding on the Garuda Vela. Although a man who's fallen in the ocean may struggle very hard. See, again this point of the man struggling in material existence. We may be very, very expert, again, at manipulating this material energy. We may be very expert. Now like I was explaining, now we have in our refrigerator fruits from 5 continents in our refrigerator. We have cars from this place, car from that place. We have furniture from here. We have, lights that come from this place. Everything coming, most of it's China. Everything's coming from everywhere, and we're very expert at making the material world look like, it's like getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better. But all it is it's just like we're becoming like ensnared in our own web. There's an example that's given in the Bhagavad Gita that a man is shackled to the wall. He's in prison and he's shackled to the wall. But the shackles, they're gold. They're made out of, the chain is made out of gold. Very thick gold chain. And the shackle bracelet, it has jewels on it. So he's looking at the jewels and the gold and saying, boy, this is so nice. This is very wonderful. I'm so happy here. He doesn't even know he's stuck. He thinks this is so nice. So we're driving down the road in our new car thinking, yes, it's very comfortable. It's very nice. I have no worries, I have a nice job. My wife didn't yell at me this morning. It's right. Everything is going. My husband's working hard, making nice money for me. And we don't know that we don't notice the shackles. Those are the shackles that are binding us in the material world. And we forget. We become so expert at manipulating material energy, we forget. We just simply forget Krishna. And when we forget Krishna, then we end up in this cycle of repeated birth and death, where we just don't. We just end up. One time we're in this body, one time we're in that body. We don't know what kind of body we're going to get in our next lifetime. We have no idea. There's no performance of austerity. There's no performance of sacrifice. Everything is just upside down. So we have to take advantage here, just like being described here, that although we may be very expert, if someone comes, even if you're in the ocean, and you may be a very expert swimmer, so the ocean is considered this material existence, and being an expert swimmer is being one who can manipulate the material energy very, very well. And even though you can do that, you still can't save yourself. Just like a person who's dropped in the middle of the ocean. He falls out in the middle of the ocean. No matter how expert that person can swim, he cannot swim himself to the shore. He has to be picked up by someone. He has to be picked up. So but if someone comes and picks him up from the water, then he is easily rescued. Similarly, the Lord picks up the devotee from material existence. One simply has to practice the easy process of Krishna consciousness and fully engage himself in devotional service. The easy process of Krishna consciousness. It's easy in one sense, but we make it so hard. We make it so hard. It's so easy, and we make it so difficult. Why? Because I remember one time it might have been even in Dallas. Like one lady asked me, why does Krishna make it so hard? Why does Krishna make it so we can't? And I said, Krishna doesn't make it, you make it. Whatever we want, Krishna will facilitate that desire. Just like the material world. We wanted to be separated from Krishna. We wanted to have our own separated existence from the Supreme Lord. So Krishna said, okay, I'll give you the material world. You can go to the material world. You can forget me for as many lifetimes as you want. And then we blame Krishna. Can't blame Krishna. You can't blame Krishna for that. So here it's described here. Similarly, Lord picks up material existence. One simply has to practice the easy process of devotional service of Krishna consciousness and fully engage himself in devotional service. Any intelligent man should always prefer the process of devotional service to all other paths. You can see the benefit of this devotional service. See the advantage that is being given here by Krishna. Krishna Prabhupada quotes another verse from the Narayaniya, and it's described that the purport of this verse is one should not engage in the different processes of fruitive activities or the cultivation of knowledge by mental speculative process. One who is devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead attains all benefits derived from other yoga processes, speculation, rituals, sacrifice, charities, etc. That is the special benediction of devotional service. Same verse I read from the 8th chapter. Vedeshu, Jagneshu, Tapashu, Chayavyam, Daneshu, Palam, that result of fruit of activity, that Jagneshu, performance of Jagneshu, Tapashu, performing a tapasya, trying to study the Vedas, doing all these different things that one thinks he has to engage in this material world. If he just takes to the process of devotional service, the simple process of devotional service, all these things are taken care of. Everything is taken care of in the simple process of devotional service. And that is a special benediction. Prabhupada said it's like you can either go to the top of the building by using the stairway, or you can use the elevator. Sometimes you may want to get some exercise. A little exercise is good. So we're not putting down exercise, but we're just making an example. That if you can go by the elevator, and you don't need exercise today, you had your exercise already, and you just push the button on the elevator, you go to the top. So Prabhupada says that this Krishna consciousness, like going to the elevator, pushing the button, go to the top of the building and not have to worry about it. Don't have to think about, first level, second level, third level, fourth level, fifth level, so many different levels, and then pretty soon you get stuck on one level, and you end up worshipping this, then you get stuck on another level worshipping that. Now Krishna, you just take to the devotional service. Simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A devotee of the Lord can approach the supreme destination easily and happily. So that's all we have to do, is chant Hare Krishna. So how many people in this room chant Hare Krishna every day? Everybody? Somebody did, some people don't raise every day. So now why not if we don't chant Hare Krishna? If we read this purport, we can see that we can get connected to Krishna simply by chanting Hare Krishna. That's the simple process. Not a very difficult thing. Chant Hare Krishna every day. Then we become closer and closer to Krishna. This is the yoga practice for this age. We can't perform the other ones. Impossible. Other things are very difficult to perform. Even Krishna, it was asked by Arjuna, which is more beneficial? Devotional service or the impersonal path? Krishna says the impersonal path is too difficult, and then eventually you have to come to devotional service anyway, so you may as well come to devotional service from the beginning. Process of devotional service is there. So we chant 16 rounds of japa every day. 16 rounds of japa is not that much. And now I'm going to pinch a little bit. 16 rounds is 8% of the day. 8%. I think you do accounting, right? Yeah, 8%. If 8%, that's just basically a CD in the bank nowadays. 8%. 5%. Huh? 8% is, that's not so much. 8%. If I asked you, please give 8%. My father used to give 15% of his income to the church. Every week he'd put in the collection till 15% or 10%, whatever it was. 10 to 15%, depending on the year. So it's only 8% of the day to sit down. And in the morning, just when we get up, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, just get up and chant Hare Krishna. And then, as being described here, the destination is you can easily approach the supreme destination easily and happily. This destination cannot be approached by any other process of religion. Krishna keeps telling us over and over and over again, by devotional service, by devotional service, by devotional service, and devotional service begins with hearing and chanting. We were just watching, at Dharma's house, we were watching that, what do you call it? Prabhupada Memories. We weren't watching a TV show, we were watching Prabhupada Memories. And one devotee, one Prabhupada's godbrothers had come to Hawaii to see him. And then while he was there, he was criticizing the devotees because they weren't chanting Hare Krishna properly, he thought. They weren't chanting properly. They weren't concentrating or focusing properly. So after this person left, they went to Prabhupada and said, this person who's criticizing devotees, he says, we're not concentrating and doing this and doing that while we chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada said, it's very easy. You chant Hare Krishna and you listen. You chant and you listen. That's all you got to do. You just chant Hare Krishna and you listen. Hare Krishna, then you can even put your hand by your ear. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's so easy. It's almost, Prabhupada said even a child can do it. Even a child can sit down and chant Hare Krishna. So what does we have excuse of ourselves? We have to chant Hare Krishna. Very simple process. Now another point I wanted to bring up in this is that it's very interesting that some people will say that the Krishna is different than the Krishna. But here it says, when you read the commentaries on this verse, when it says, Krishna says, but those who worship me, and he takes his finger and he goes like this, those who worship me, and he points right to himself. Krishna's on the chariot with Arjuna, and he goes, those who worship me. He goes, those who worship me, those who give up all their activities unto me. And he points to himself again. Being devoted to me, again he points to himself without deviation, engaged in devotional service to me, and meditating upon me, and having fixed their minds upon me. He keeps going like this, me, right here, this person right here, not anybody else, me, right here. Let's get it straightened out, who I'm talking about. Me, not me, but Krishna me. Krishna's saying, I'm not saying not Rtadhvaja, but Krishna's saying me. He says, you worship me, giving up your activities to me, being devoted to me, engaged in devotional service to me, meditating upon me, having fixed your minds upon me. Then, I'm the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. I'm okay. I'm sorry. My self-effulgent Brahma throat. I can just make my aura big. Prabhupada says here there's no need to consider the sinful actions of his past life because the Supreme Lord takes full charge of him. From whatever walk of life we come, from the most pious to the most sinful, it doesn't matter. If we get to shelter at the lotus feet of the spiritual master in Krishna, then all of our sinful activities are reduced to nil, and our awakening of Krishna consciousness can take place very, very quickly. As Krishna says here, very quickly, he is a swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So we'll stop here and we'll ask if there's any questions or comments on this verse. This is a very nice verse, huh?
Well, you were saying when we are chanting, we should be trying to listen to it. Is it also appropriate to think about Krishna's pastime or Vrindavan, holy places, things like that?
Can't hurt, but just listen. Just hear and chant. Everything is present within the holy name. And those things will happen automatically. You can do it if you want to. You can. There's no harm, but there's no need. Those things will automatically happen as the heart becomes clear. Because Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, remembrance of Krishna will come. It will come automatically. I always try to think of Krishna a little bit, imagine Krishna in my mind, playing on his flute, dancing with the Gopis and playing with the Gaur boys. Better than thinking of changing the tire on your car. Which I was thinking of one morning. 2 o'clock in the morning I was chanting Hare Krishna thinking about the tires on my car. Not even a tire store open. Never forget that one. Jared.
I remember you mentioned about chanting Hare Krishna every day and trying to do 16 rounds. And I think a lot, some people's hands were raised, some people's hands weren't. And I think sometimes it comes to an issue of like our duty in life and what people are involved in, being the issue of time. A lot of times people get so busy in life that they might not do as much as they want to do, or they might like if they're going to school, if they're going to work, there's so many things you're doing, like they can't even put aside as much time as they would want to. And so I think that might be a reason why some people kind of get stuck in that kind of situation, where they're not doing, they're not chanting as much as they can, or sometimes they might not chant at all because they get so entangled in supporting themselves or supporting their families or just daily arguments. So how should someone approach that when they're?
He should make a schedule so that he can arrange his life in such a way that they have an opportunity to chant Hare Krishna. It's another thing to not have faith that we should chant Hare Krishna. If you don't have faith that you should chant Hare Krishna, then you won't chant Hare Krishna. But if you have faith, and again, faith is a constant. It's just a matter of where. Everybody has faith in something. You've got to put it somewhere. This is recommended today that we have faith in Krishna. We have faith in the chanting of the holy names. That faith is encouraged and increased by association with devotees. When you're with devotees, you're always encouraged to chant Hare Krishna, because they're chanting Hare Krishna. If you want to be a drunk, hang out with some people that drink, and you'll be a drunk. If you want to be you're associated with that which you associate with, you quickly become one. So association is very, very important. So, and again, it's a choice. It's a matter of choice. If you have to work very, very hard, it may be true that there's a limited amount of time. But we know there's also a limited amount of time for us in this lifetime, and we have to utilize this life for ultimately going back to Godhead. Ultimately, we have to figure out a way where we can actually utilize this body in the service of the Supreme Lord. And it's a simple process. It's a simple thing. 16 rounds. It's minimum. I was at a minimum of 16 rounds. He didn't say maximum. Minimum. And we just encourage everybody to please chant Hare Krishna and not be discouraged. if you can only chant one round a day, then that's okay. Because by chanting that one round, you'll get unlimited benefit. And then you'll see the benefit from the one round, and then you'll think, well, if I get this much from this, then I'll get double if I chant 2. And then you chant 2, then if you think, well, I get double from 2, then you'll chant 4. Then pretty soon you'll be at 16. 16 is not, it seems like very, very dedicated life, but it's only 2 hours. It's 2 hours. And ultimately our whole life is meant to be surrendered unto Krishna. That's another thing. Because in the end, we have only Krishna. At the end of this life, what are we going to have? When I'm at the university, I always ask the kids, what's your GPA? And they'll say like 3.6, 3. I say, no, not your grade point average, your God point average. What's the God point average? What did you do today for Krishna that you could have done? What didn't you do today for Krishna that you could have done for him? Take a look at how much time we space out. I can confess to that one. I space out a lot. So we should always be encouraged, whether it's even if we haven't a desire to chant Hare Krishna, even if we can pray to Krishna, please give me a desire to chant Hare Krishna. That's a step in the right direction. Or please, Krishna, show me that the process of chanting Hare Krishna is the proper process for understanding you. Please let me see that. Even that's beneficial. Anything that we can come up with